Good evening, everyone. Hope that everyone's having a good day or had a good day, and trying to record this video a little bit earlier in the day so I'll have a little bit more time to get it uploaded. Hopefully it'll be uploaded by this evening and able to be viewed prior to or around tonight's Bible study anyway, around tonight's Bible study time. Today we're continuing in the book of Genesis. And last week we had read about Isaac and Abimelech, how Isaac was dwelling among the Philistines. And they just kind of butted heads, and Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, said, Isaac, it's probably about time for you to move on down the road. And so Isaac picked up his tent and his camp, his home, and moved. So in verse 17 of Genesis 26, if you want to take your Bibles and open them there, and we'll read from there. Genesis chapter 26, verse 17 says, "And Isaac departed thence, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley, and found there a well of springing water. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen, saying, The water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they digged another well, and strove for that also. And he called the name of it Stena. And he removed from thence, and digged another well, and for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And he went up from this to Beersheba." As we read those, we're going to stop right there tonight. And as we read those verses there, a couple of things come to mind. I want to mark my spot here real quick. We see really three times here. The first time that we read about last week, and two times today, we read about the struggle for water in this particular area. I don't really know why the Philistines were stopping up wells, probably because they were trying to make life difficult on everyone, much like they did throughout the course of history. Maybe they were trying to funnel people to a certain area so that they would be easier to ambush or to attack, or would bring in more cash flow by doing business, trading, commerce, so on and so forth. Maybe they could sell water if there was only water available in certain areas. I don't know. We just read here tonight that there was only a certain set of wells that were available, and Isaac didn't want to be with the Philistines any longer. Abimelech had told him it's time for him to move on, and so he did, and he starts digging wells. But each time he digs a well, there are other people who strive after that water, the water of those wells as well. And twice that happens. And so Isaac continually moves on until he comes to a place where no one desires to live or to dwell, or desires the water from the well that he had dug. It reminds me, a lot of earlier in Genesis, when we read about Abraham and Lot and the struggles between their two family groups, and Abraham gave Abraham and Lot, and the struggle between their two families. And Abraham gave Lot the choice to the land, his choice of which land he wanted. Did he want the hill country, or did he want the bottom country, the fertile land down along the rivers where that was flourishing with grass and the soil was good, so on and so forth. And of course, Lot chose the bottom land. And Abraham was left with the hill country, but he went to the hill country with himself and his family, and they flourished because the Lord was with them and He blessed them, and so we see a similar instance here. Isaac's not wanting to butt heads with those individuals, and so. The herdsman of Gerar, he's not wanting to fight with them over the water, not wanting to pay them for water. And so he continues to move on and move on. You know, sometimes God shows us in our lives when it's time to move on from certain situations or situations that we shouldn't be in order for us to find fulfillment, in order for relationships and fellowship with people should be natural, and it should be easy. Don't get me wrong. There are times when we should fight for what we believe in. There are times where we should stand up for what we believe in. There are times where we have to be an example, and we have to stand up. We have to stand our ground, and be the example for those who are looking on. And I'm not saying that we should be pacifists by any means, but also. Generally speaking, and I've always heard it put this way, but when God opens a door, it's our responsibility as Christians to step through that door until God, and to continue stepping through the doors that God opens until God closes a door. Well, in a similar situation, Isaac is digging these wells, and water is there, but the door is closed. He's meeting resistance, he's facing adversity, and so he chooses to move on from that. There may be certain situations or circumstances in our lives where we are trying to force God's will. We're trying to force something that isn't what God desires for us. And when it should be easy for us to follow God's will. It doesn't mean that God's will is going to be easy. In fact, as the psalmist wrote, it says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." It may not be easy to accomplish God's will, but it should be easy to follow God's will or to see God's will. So if we're trying to force God's will, perhaps we're not investing our time and our energy wisely, and we should re-examine our hearts or maybe move on from certain situations in order to search and to find what God's will is. As always, I want to encourage you to reach out to me through message or phone call, email, whatever, if there's any questions or concerns, any prayer requests, and we appreciate each and every one of those, and we continue to pray for those who are on our prayer list. Pray for my family in Kentucky. And for all of them. Matthew's dad passed away this morning from complications with COVID, and so they're there right now, and pray for them over the next several days that the Lord would give them peace and comfort, and we just also want to pray for all of those others in our community and our surrounding area that are struggling with this illness. I hope and pray that it is under control soon, that God will take it away, that He'll remove it, but we're just going to continue trusting Him and following His plan and His will as we move forward. God bless, and hope everyone has a good evening. Bye.